Some choices disclose more about you than years of self-analysis ever could, not because they are rational, but because they arise before reason has a chance to intervene. You are standing at one of those moments now. Before you are four horses. They are not merely animals. Each carries a distinct energy, a unique presence, a particular emotional gravity. Before your mind begins to compare colors, meanings, or narratives, pause. Breathe. Let your gaze settle. Notice which horse draws you in silently, without justification. This matters. Do not think. The instant you analyze, you move away from the truth this test is meant to uncover. Carl Jung believed that symbols speak directly to the unconscious. Long before we learn how to explain ourselves, our inner world already understands images, instincts, and feeling. The unconscious does not speak in language. It speaks through attraction, discomfort, curiosity, and resonance. The horse you are drawn to is not accidental. It mirrors a dominant psychological force currently shaping your life, whether you recognize it or not. Many people spend years trying to understand themselves by thinking more, reading more, questioning more. Yet the clearest insights often appear when we do the opposite, when we allow ourselves to choose without justification. This test works precisely because it bypasses the rational mind and reaches something deeper. As you look at the horses, you may sense calm, tension, familiarity, or even resistance. Do not correct these responses. Resistance itself is meaningful. At times, we are not drawn to what feels comfortable, but to what feels necessary. Once you have chosen, hold the image. Do not rush forward. Each horse represents a different relationship with instinct, emotion, freedom, and inner power. None is superior or inferior. They simply reveal different ways the psyche learns to survive, adapt, and grow. This is not about predicting your future or labeling your personality. It is about recognizing which inner force is asking, right now, to be seen. Jung called this process individuation, the gradual unfolding of who you truly are beneath roles, expectations, and fear. In the moments ahead, you will explore what your chosen horse symbolizes. You may recognize yourself immediately, or you may feel unsettled. Both responses are valid. Self-knowledge is not always comfortable, but it is always honest. Before we continue, commit to one thing: remain open. What you are about to discover may already be shaping your decisions more than you realize. Now, let us meet the first horse. If you chose the first horse, you are deeply connected to instinct. Not in a primitive sense, but in a profoundly human one. This horse represents raw psychological energy, the part of you that reacts before it explains, feels before it justifies, and moves before it hesitates. Those drawn to this horse often live close to their emotions. You may experience life intensely: passion, anger, desire, enthusiasm, frustration. These emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. Your psyche responds sharply to the world around you, and your body often recognizes truth before the mind can translate it. You trust your intuition, even when you cannot explain it. From a Jungian perspective, this horse is bound to the instinctual layer of the psyche, the very ground upon which consciousness stands. Instinct keeps us alive, but it also urges us toward authenticity. You are likely someone who struggles with repression. When you deny what you feel, tension accumulates quickly. Your inner world insists on expression. This can cause others to see you as bold, impulsive, or emotionally intense. You may be told that you are too much, too sensitive, too reactive, too passionate. What is often overlooked is your courage. It requires strength to feel deeply in a world that rewards emotional distance. It takes resilience to remain connected to instinct when so many have severed that bond with themselves. Yet this horse also reveals a challenge. When instinct moves without reflection, it can lead to exhaustion, conflict, or regret. Acting purely from emotion may bring immediate release, but it often carries lasting consequences. Your growth does not come from silencing instinct, but from learning to hear it without surrendering control to it. There is a natural leadership quality in those who choose this horse. Others follow you not because you are strategic, but because you are alive. Your presence carries momentum. You introduce movement where stagnation has taken hold. You remind others that life is meant to be felt, not merely managed. At the same time, your path asks you to learn patience not as suppression, but as awareness. When instinct and consciousness cooperate, your power becomes balanced. You act with clarity rather than chaos. If this horse called to you, ask yourself where in your life you are being asked to honor what you feel instead of explaining it away. Where have you dismissed instinct in exchange for comfort or approval? Your psyche is not asking you to extinguish your fire. It is asking you to direct it. And yet, not all strength is born of intensity. Some inner forces mature in silence, depth, and stillness. To recognize that contrast, we now turn to the second horse. If the second horse drew your attention, your inner world is likely quieter than most, yet far from empty. This horse represents depth, introspection, and the psychological strength that comes from observing rather than reacting. You tend to process life inwardly, often long before you reveal your feelings to others. Those drawn to this horse move carefully through the world. You listen more than you speak. You perceive what others miss: subtle shifts in tone, emotional undercurrents, unspoken tensions. What may appear as distance or passivity is, in truth, a form of emotional intelligence. You do not rush to respond because you understand the weight carried by words and actions. In Jungian terms, this horse symbolizes a strong connection to the inner observer, the aspect of the psyche that reflects, integrates, and gives meaning to experience. You are naturally drawn to self-examination. Silence does not frighten you, it often feels like home. Your thoughts deepen when the world quiets. This depth, however, carries a paradox. Because so much resides within you, others may never fully understand. Perhaps you learned early that expressing emotions openly was unsafe or ineffective. In response, you cultivated a rich inner life as a form of protection. This is not weakness, it is adaptation. Yet adaptation can gradually become isolation. When emotions remain unspoken too long, they do not vanish. They accumulate. This can create a sense of heaviness, even when nothing appears amiss. You may feel weary without reason, or disconnected even among others. Your strength lies in reflection, but your growth lies in selective expression. Not everyone needs entry into your inner world, but someone should. Depth becomes wisdom only when allowed to move outward. Even subtly, those drawn to this horse often carry a quiet form of leadership. You influence not through volume or force, but through presence. People feel calmer near you, even if they cannot explain why. You remind them that stillness has value in a noisy world. Ask yourself, where in your life are words held back that need speaking? Where has silence protected, and where has it limited? Your psyche is not asking you to be louder. It is asking you to trust that your voice, when used, matters. Yet still, introspection is not the end of the journey for every soul. Some are drawn forward by movement, change, and the refusal to remain still. To recognize that impulse, we now turn to the third horse. If the third horse captured your attention, you are someone who feels most alive in motion. This horse embodies freedom, transformation, and the deep psychological need to evolve. You cannot remain the same for long, not from instability, but because your inner world continuously reshapes itself. Those drawn to this horse sense, when a phase of life has reached its limit, even if nothing outwardly signals it. Routine suffocates. Repetition drains. You may have changed paths, identities, or dreams more than once, not out of confusion, but from instinctive understanding that growth requires motion. From a Jungian perspective, this horse reflects a profound connection to the process of individuation, the ongoing transformation of the self. You ask not who am I, but who am I becoming? This forward-moving psyche thrives on discovery, challenge, and renewal. Yet the drive for freedom carries a shadow. Constant motion can conceal avoidance. When change occurs too rapidly, it may serve as escape from unresolved emotions or uncomfortable truths. You may fear stagnation, but what you truly fear is being trapped in a version of yourself that no longer fits. Those drawn to this horse often struggle with patience, not from a lack of discipline, but because waiting feels like standing still. Yet some transformations require stillness before they can unfold. Learning when to move and when to pause is a vital lesson for you. Your strength lies in adaptability. You recover quickly. You reinvent yourself with courage. You are willing to leave behind what no longer serves you, even when others cling to familiarity. This makes you inspiring, yet it can also make you feel alone. Not everyone can keep pace with your inner changes. Ask yourself, are you moving towards something, or merely away from something? Freedom gains meaning when guided by intention rather than restlessness. Your psyche is not asking you to cease evolving. It is asking you to become conscious of why you evolve. And yet there remains one more horse, one that carries the weight of what is hidden, suppressed, and misunderstood. To complete the picture, we turn to the final horse. If the fourth horse called to you, you are drawn to what lies beneath the surface. This horse embodies the shadow, a concept used to describe the parts of ourselves that were rejected, hidden, or pushed into darkness to be accepted, loved, or safe. Those who resonate with this horse often sense their difference early on. You may have realized that traits such as intensity, sensitivity, anger, ambition, or independence were unwelcome. Over time, you learned to conceal these parts not because they were wrong, but because they were powerful. What society cannot easily understand, it often asks us to hide. The shadow is not evil, it is unconscious, and within it lies immense strength. Choosing this horse suggests you carry abilities yet to be fully claimed. Talents you downplay, boundaries you hesitate to enforce, truths you avoid expressing often because acknowledging them would require change in relationships, roles, or identity. The shadow grows heavier when ignored, lighter when understood. From a Jungian perspective, shadow integration is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming whole. The parts of you that feel uncomfortable, contradictory, or intense are not obstacles to growth. They are gateways. What you suppress does not vanish, it waits, and when it emerges unconsciously, it often does so through conflict, self-sabotage, or projection onto others. You may notice strong emotional reactions to certain people, irritation, admiration, envy, or judgment. These reactions are mirrors, not mistakes. They reveal qualities you either deny in yourself or long to reclaim. Those drawn to this horse possess deep resilience. You have survived emotional complexity that others never faced. You understand pain not as weakness, but as information. This gives you a rare capacity for empathy, and it carries a responsibility to yourself. Ask yourself, what parts of me am I still hiding to maintain harmony or gain approval? What might happen if I allowed myself to be fully seen? Your psyche is not asking you to eliminate the shadow. It is asking you to walk beside it consciously, courageously, without shame. Now that all four horses have revealed their meanings, one question remains: what happens when these forces are no longer separate, but integrated? To answer that, we enter the final chapter. Your choice of horse was never a label. It was a signal. Each horse represents a dominant psychological force: instinct, depth, transformation, or shadow, but no human is made of only one. The purpose of this test is not to place you in a category, but to reveal which part of your psyche currently seeks attention. Believed that true psychological growth comes from integration, not identification. When we cling too strongly to one aspect of ourselves, we lose balance. Instinct without reflection becomes chaos. Silence without expression becomes isolation. Transformation without grounding becomes restlessness. Shadow without awareness becomes self-sabotage. Your chosen horse shows where your energy naturally flows. The others reveal what may be underdeveloped, ignored, or waiting in the background. Growth begins when you recognize this honestly. If you chose the horse of instinct, integration means learning when to pause, not to suppress feelings, but to guide them. If you chose the horse of silence, integration means allowing safe expression, letting your inner world be witnessed without fear. If you chose the horse of transformation, integration means understanding when stillness is necessary for deeper change. And if you chose the horse of shadow, integration means reclaiming hidden strengths without shame or apology. Individuation is not a destination, it is a process. You do not become whole in a single moment. You move toward wholeness through awareness, choice, and courage. The unconscious becomes less frightening when named. Inner conflict softens when opposing forces coexist. This is why your choice mattered, not because it predicts the future, but because it reveals the psychological climate of your present. It shows what shapes your decisions, relationships, and reactions right now. Take a moment to reflect. Where do you feel tension, stagnation, or confusion? Often these are signs that one inner force dominates while another is neglected. Balance does not come from eliminating parts of yourself, but from listening to them. As you move forward, carry this awareness. Notice when instinct rises, when silence calls, when change demands action, or when the shadow asks to be seen. These are invitations not to judge, but to understand yourself more deeply. If this reflection resonated, share which horse you chose in the comments. At your choice may help someone else recognize their own inner truth, because the path forward is not about choosing the right horse, it is about learning to ride all of them with consciousness and respect.